Welcome to God Chosen Cosmic Melodies. We have another good one. We're just gonna jump right in to where we left off on the video in my most recent one. The deep end with Tyler Welch, the roots of Freemasonry. We're just gonna go back to the spot that we left off. Oh, Jesus. 1 second. Okay, there it goes. Oh, I have my little buddy here. He's almost knocking over the camera here. Okay, boom. We're back.
Has to do where Paul is talking about the captivity, the captives, right? It's a very odd real term that's being used there. And he is going to be parading out these captives is what is going on there. So that is talking about 1 Peter 3. And that there's going to be a spectacle made of these beings. This is an official denunciation and sentencing, I think, that's going on here. Now, Paul in Ephesians 4 is quoting directly out of Psalm 68, where you get all the detail of this. And they're actually paraded out to Bashan. And this denunciation is happening. So it's important to understand what is going on there. And it then starts to make some sense that while he was still walking on the earth as Jesus before the crucifixion, he went to Mount Hermon in the Bashan region to the location of the Pan Temple and the gateway to Hades. And he announced to the world and to the gods there at their holy mountain that I am going to build my church going forward, and changes Peter's name from Saul to Peter, Simon to Peter, which means rock. Build it on this rock. Jesus is the rock, so it's more than one meaning. It's not just one. And it's at the rock of Sion, right? It's the mountain of Sion. And that he's going to build his church. And they don't even know how he's going to do it at this point, but he has made clear warning what he's about to do. And they go and still crucify him anyways, because they don't know what he's going to do. And so not all the angels are in
There
the pit
to
prison.
save
Only the
them.
ones that did the worst of the crimes are in the pit prison from before the flood and just after the flood. So that hierarchy is still in place, which is now answers how Psalms is talking about the bulls of Bashan that are mocking Jesus on the cross.
Okay, I'm gonna keep going, but let's pause. Make sure you don't have anything.
All I was going to say is I'm just on my producer hat. We're going through the roots of Freemasonry, the Royals. We're going through end times technology, how that all that interplay goes together. Where you kind of going? I'm just genuinely kind of curious.
No idea.
No idea.
No.
Okay, so you're done with Freemasonry.
Are you bored?
No.
Are you bored?
I'm not bored. I'm just trying to find a way to tie this stuff together because I'm like, man, there's so many open loops still on the Freemasonry track that you just kind of went 10 minutes and I just kept going. So I'm trying to figure out where we're going.
All right. Well, I have more questions about what you're talking about. Then we can go back to Freemasonry.
If you're actually interested in it, then great.
Well, now when you put it this way, okay, you have Freemasonry, and you're Jesus went to Sheol and publicly humiliated. I don't even care about Freemasonry anymore. So we can go back to Freemasonry, but they matter zero. Let's go back to Freemasonry for Jake. Then I'm going to take you back to this moment.
What?
Don't forget, Gary. Okay. So, back to Freemasonry. Is it the recruiting arm of this?
Yeah, it's the lowest level. So they're
It's like when he says Freemasonry doesn't even matter anymore, because when we focus on the fact that Jesus guaranteed us the win in his resurrection, then you no longer even want to know more about the evil stuff, because you focus on basically the optimism of how we literally are going to get through this. So I see why he would say just forget about talking about the Freemasons, because then we don't want to glorify them or give them energy and attention, because as you know, they harvest our energy. So why keep talking about them when we already know what they're up to? But it's also really important to stay informed and know the history of these things,
yeah, good point, because we didn't come back to the initial question on that. So they are still, to join Freemasonry, you have to be invited. You can't just join it. So they are always looking to bring genealogical descendants of lower genes and bloodlines back in.
You hear that?
And so they're still inviting people to come back in. And the general sort of understanding is that you can worship any god, as long as you worship a god. And that this is going to be very good for business, for social interaction.
And as we know, some people consider Satan their god. So it's important that even though Freemasonry lets you enter and you can believe in your own god, it, like he said at the beginning, is they intend to change your belief system. And they target certain people and invite them into the Freemasonry. I told you in my previous videos, the secret occult or whatever, a dumb group that's connected to, they do occult stuff or cabal stuff, witchcraft stuff, Freemasonry, Illuminati. They contacted me. I don't know who or what was actually behind it, but I've been contacted by dumb people like that, and I never fell for it. And they were, it bothered them that they couldn't, basically what they call a handler, they couldn't control me and make me subservient and submissive and obedient, because they wanted to have power over me, to puppet me and manipulate me into believing that they care and that it's it would be better for me to choose, I don't know, those kind of things basically. But I never fell for it. Nothing in my soul ever was curious about being a part of it. I've always been one to choose source over anything in this human realm, to choose source over any sort of misleading or manipulative energies, which is what I felt when they reached out to me. So I know from personal experience what he's talking about.
And for your career, all sorts of good things, do charities.
So they allow you to worship like Jehovah or Yahweh?
You can worship any god you want.
They don't care.
Really, they don't care.
They don't care because they're going to manipulate
probably
you.
in North America, they would prefer if it's a Christian god because it's easier to hide in plain sight. But that's the only qualification, because they're going to convert whoever they are by first level adept over to worshiping the great architect of the universe, Hail El Satan, whatever you want to call him.
And the first level of the adept is 32nd degree?
No, that is third degree on the York Rite, which is the old system. And Scottish Rite is 33rd degree as an adept. If you're 32nd in Scottish Rite, you know nothing of importance. So you still think it's still a good organization, although you might be starting to say, we're some studying and learning some pretty weird things here. It's preparation, but first level of adept is said to overturn every preconceived conclusion you ever had. So these are mundane until they become adept. They are just like us. They deserve to be lied to. And so, but at adept level, that's where you start to swear those oaths to secrecy in ways.
And when you do those oaths, you're essentially giving away parts of your soul. You're committing to something that is against God. When you do ritualistic things, any sort of witchcraft, any sort of sorcery, any sort of occult, cabal, Freemasonry practices, it is literally that they're slowly but surely taking you away from your soul authority in the Most High. And they're wanting to use your power for their own agendas and have you as a puppet and a casualty and as a slave to under this illusion and false perception that you are a part of something bigger, when in reality they're just using majority of their followers, because majority of their followers are blindly following based on false teachings, misleading teachings, and manipulation. Massive manipulation that has happened throughout generations. And they teach their offspring that this is the way, knowing very well that it's not the way. The ones at top know that they're going against the Most High, but the ones at the bottom are still spiritually oblivious and blind, so they think that it's best for their offspring to be a part of these kind of things, when in reality they're misleading their own offspring because they themselves are being misled and manipulated.
That are now meaningful and instituted, not only on the secrets, but your loyalty.
You are over 40 and
they want you to be loyal to satanic energies, to their satanic hidden agendas.
And you're saying I've heard a lot of things from different people, like there's 200 levels, there's 100 levels. How many levels are there?
Depending on how you want to split it up. And if you're outside the craft, and if you are even at the low levels, you may not know. And I'm not going to profess to say that I know because I'm not there. What we do know is that you have this multiplier of 3 kind of going on from 11 to 33 to get there, and 2 special numbers. So 3 times 11, 3 is the number of first level adept in the old system. So there's a relationship there in the 2 systems. So, if you have, how many times can you multiply 33 times 11? You could go that high, or times 3 again to 99. So depending on how they want to split up those steps, because every 11 degrees is one of the degrees of the first 3, right? So that's how you're splitting it up. Mm-hmm. So depending on your counting is how many that there are. I can't confirm how many there are. I've been told, I know there's 7 for sure. I know second level is like a regional manager of the lodges. You're going to be at least 7th level to be Rosicrucian. And then it starts to go higher. I've been told 9, 11, 33 on the old system. But it could even be more. But only the purebloods are going to be initiated at that level. Now, as a pureblood, you're initiated from childhood. So you are an adept. Distinguish the difference. And so this would be...
Wait, so... This just hit me, like, when he said it happens from when they're birthed, is because they put their own children into rituals that glorify Satan. And this is why the generational curse lives on through the next generation. And that's why they perceive it as they will keep the power, because they continue the curse on to the next generation.
A term that's used for a pureblood who has passed adepthood before they're 18. They're way beyond 3rd degree or 33 degree. Way beyond.
Pureblood meaning they were okay, so not just born into Freemasonry, but of a bloodline that signifies that they are of the necessary blood purity.
So now if you look at
not necessarily purity, but more so from their ritualistic works. So in their mind, it's like purely from Satan, and they want to continue the spawns of Satan to the next generation. The thing is that child did not willingly, enter that. They were entered by the previous generation. So that was brought upon them majority of the time. actually every single time. Think about it. A little child can't make the better decisions for themselves. The adult has to do that for that baby or that inner child, that teenager, the adolescent, right? So they're forcing these ways onto the next generation.
Something just to
And
sort of
normalizing
make this
it.
sort of visually understandable. You have a society that's at Oxford, similar to what goes on in the U.S., Oxford being like the Ivy League type of thing of England, and a writing society called the Inkling Society that's sponsored by the Golden Dawn Rosicrucian Society. And you have people like Lewis and Tolkien there and many others, but just to keep it simple. And people will say, well, they couldn't be of secret societies because there's nothing published about them being part of secret societies. But in England, they don't publish, so you wouldn't have it anyways. But the tell is that you could not be part of a Rosicrucian society, which is way above Freemasonry, unless you were a pureblood. You wouldn't be at Oxford in the 20s and 30s unless you're part of the nobility of royals. I mean, there may have been a couple breakthroughs, but not many. And so they were already adepts and easily able to be part of a Rosicrucian writing society. They were learned how to write, not to be fed the information, that they could create their narratives of their history, their belief system, and their genealogies. So that's kind of how that works. So one of the documents I get asked for all the time is show me the documents on Lewis and also send me, and Tolkien, and also send me their bloodlines. I have 6-part series on that. One for the Llewellyn bloodline of the Lewis, and the other for the Tok bloodline of Tolkien that goes back to the Norse gods. So people want that. Plus I'll show you their doctrines and the fruits of their works. And if they ever became Christian, they never recanted their writings. So I'll put all of that into the information. So understand that there's a level of knowledge and mysticism that's under play that works in behind the scenes that we can't really imagine.
So I'm not allowed to watch Lord of the Rings anymore.
Or Narnia.
Well, you can, but understand what they're doing. I mean, they're great storytellers, but make sure you educate your children on what they're watching. And if you want to
all
enjoy the story,
manipulation.
I'm not telling people not to do it, but don't be brainwashed.
Yeah.
Don't fall for the incarnation of Aslan in another world. Don't think that fauns and satyr gods should be part of children's writings.
Yeah. We talked about that in the other episode of,
Yeah.
what was it, Mithra, who be incarnated back.
So keep that in mind. Anything you see and hear in documentaries or forms of entertainment, any form of entertainment, keep in mind that these people throughout the generations have literally made up false narratives to mislead people away from the truth, to have people stay spiritually blind and believing a false narrative from misinformation, disinformation, manipulated information, made up information. As he said, they were the ones who had everyone else not knowing how to read and write, and they knew how to write, so they made these things up. And when other people learned how to read, they read it as if it was the truth. But we know that that's not the truth. We know that dictators in the past, like Hitler and amongst many other horrific dictators, they burned books of the truth and made their own indoctrination. So with this in mind, we have to keep in mind, especially this day and age, and with tech, they're pushing out these false narratives. And not only that, they use sorcery in the forms of entertainment. It is really in our best interest to stay away from and choose to not put our energy into anything demonic, no matter where it is, no matter what form of artistry, no matter what form of entertainment, no matter what form of content it is. Do not give your attention away to these demonic dark principalities that work through forms of entertainment, because as he said, and he knows very well about the history that has been manipulated, and to know the difference between truth and the manipulated information, or just misleading, completely made up, but they make it so elaborate that it looks and sounds like it's real, but it is not. It is not based on a solid foundation, solid ground of truth, in the light of truth. It is not based on that, and it did not come from the truth. It came from a pure made up lie, and from people who have had these agendas from way back when, before we were here in this lifetime. And so let's keep going.
That is what Aslan does.
Exactly. He's like the Christ consciousness.
Man, C.S. Lewis, dude.
Have you heard? Reading glasses.
So they try to all these forms of entertainment that are satanic, they mislead people away from God. They make people believe narratives that are not of God.
Dude. Did he write that to confuse people?
Well, I want to correct what I just said. They don't make people, but they delude people and manipulate people into believing things that are not of God.
No,
Some of the screw tape letters is like awesome.
Oh, I know. He's a fabulous writer. So is Tolkien. Well, Disney did the same thing with fairy tales and things. And people say, well, he's Freemason. No, he's higher. He's part of the entertainment part. It's got to be at least Rosicrucian.
Walt too.
Yeah.
Walt Disney
Interesting.
is
Just shooting
Rosicrucian.
all your favorite people in the head.
They are
That's
preparing
why they manipulate our children at a young age. That's why they make content dedicated to the children, because they target our children. Because if they can manipulate them from a young age, they will have more easier control over them as they grow. And this is why it's important to monitor what our children are watching and listening to, because people in secret societies are preying on all younger generations. They are preying on them because these younger generations are unaware about the spiritual part of life and how they're being preyed on. So they're easy targets when they're unaware. And when they're younger, of course, it's natural for them to be unaware, but that's why it takes adults like us to make sure that we have them around pure truths and we don't let them be manipulated by forms of entertainment that are meant to prey on their psychological state, that are meant to prey on their whole energy system and manipulate them from the inside out. We need to make sure that we monitor the things that our children are being exposed to in the times we're living in today. Let's keep going.
Keep going.
They prepare us from childhood, and the fairy tale concept goes back many years to accept things for when they're ready to reveal things, that we would accept that more easily, and they can tell us that they told us, we just didn't understand. Right? It had everything in place. Like everything that they do reflects who they are and who they worship and their history, because
Satan.
That's how they honor their gods.
Yeah.
We just have to understand how they speak and what they do.
They honor their god, Satan, by manipulating and sacrificing the younger generations. That's literally how they honor Satan, by preying on the younger generations, literally. Which is horrific if you when we really realize what's really happening. And then, when we see this side of reality, this light of truth, we're less likely to fall into this, 666 satanic AI hidden agenda.
So this fairy tale concept, both Tolkien and Lewis were talking about, is they kind of consider the Bible a fairy tale because they both said so. Well, a fairy tale is a very interesting narrative that's a fiction and has a eucatastrophe, which is their term, written into it, where the hero doesn't have to face the horrible end. It has a happily ever after ending, which again is part of the fairy tale concept. So when they say the Bible is like a fairy tale, they're saying Jesus didn't really die on the cross and was resurrected. That's the fairy tale part, to make it a happy ever after ending. So now you have to be a mystic, an adept to understand how the Bible is written, because it's all allegorical. But that makes sense from their perspective because they have the interpretive approach, not the literal approach.
Got it. Okay. Back to Freemasonry, so Jake is happy.
Okay, so you heard what he just said. So they make the biblical text as if it's mythical to take away its power, to take away the power of the name of Jesus, to take away the power of the true story. And this is what we all need to be coming back to, this light of truth. And remember that this is not a fairy tale. This ancient text, and even though some of it has been manipulated, this wisdom has lasted the test of time because it is based in actual reality. It is not mythical. It is literal, and not everything in it is literal. But the parts that matter, the parts that have power, is what they try to make out mythical because it has that much power. The name of Jesus has authority in this realm that no other name and no other presence and no other energy has, the way that the authority of Jesus has. And the story and the truth behind his story, behind that story is essentially Source relating a message to Source's creation, Source's children, Source living on through that story and shining the light of truth throughout all the deception. It is not a myth that the power in the name of Jesus can cancel out dark principalities of this realm. And it's not about praying to a deity or praying to a person or a god. It's about the inner representation, the inner truth. That's what it's all about. It's not about what they try to change religion into and giving your power to a statue or a deity or a person or an establishment. No, it's straight your connection to Source, your soul connection to Source. And the power in the name of Jesus is that Jesus being resurrected inside of you, you reawakening the Christos within you, your inner Christ consciousness activated and connected to Source energy. God, head, source, invisible intelligence of all that is. God, Source, energy.
Thank you. We're going to keep hitting this home. Are there Freemasons who get out of it? Or
a lot of lower level ones do, until you become adept. Not so much afterwards. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, because it does. Just like some of the bloodlines can leave. But if you're adept and or a bloodline will leave, you could be in constant danger for the rest of your life. And so it's not looked upon fondly. But if you're a lower level one, well, they're just saying, well, you're still mundane and you're not worthy, right? They don't want you to leave, but it's easier to leave.
I'm wearing
you hear that? So if you have been tricked into Freemasonry, you better wake up sooner than later, because they do not care about anyone outside of the pure bloodline, and even their own. Like he said, they would be in danger for the rest of their life. If family really cared about you and your sovereignty, they wouldn't chase you down for the rest of your life if you didn't want to be a part of something that goes against your soul. That's not true family. And so even their own are not safe. That is very telling, to not trust people like that. Even their own are not safe. Why would anyone outside of their own trust them then? It's clear as day why none of us should trust them. Not even their own should trust their own. Because they will, like he said, they will be in danger for the rest of their life if they don't want to fall into the toxic patterns and the generational curses. Because again, the children didn't choose that. That was put on them.
when it comes to Freemasonry, I feel like that often gets associated with witchcraft. Like, what is that even accurate? Is there like, what's the problem with being in Freemasonry if it's all good at first?
Yeah, well, witchcraft, the craft that Freemasonry is called, it's the same belief system and same religion. Druidism is the polytheism that we understand the witches come from, which is just either a priest or a priestess of the Druidic religion. So it's like the Magi. It's like the Brahmins. It's the same, just different terms for the same thing. And so many Freemasons are witches. Why? Because they're adepts. The high-end witches are the high-end priest adepts in the religion and also an adept in the same religion. And this is the religion that's part of Gnosticism. They look at Druidism on equal with the Druid priests as with the ancient Brahmins, with the priests of Egypt, with the sophists in Greece, with the Magi in Mesopotamia. They look at that as all being the same religion. So Gnosticism is the religion that we get coming out of the Middle Ages, that begins in the time of Jesus and just before, a few centuries before, that is amalgamating religions back into the original religion, that later produces theosophy, the god of wisdom. Sophia, the mother goddess of Gnosticism, created the 12 archons and is the word for wisdom in Greek. And so philosophy is the love of Sophia, the love of the goddess, the love of the knowledge, as they work things through in our language. Gnosticism produces theosophy, which produces New Age.
Okay. And then there was something you said you were going to ask. Do you want me to ask you something? Or are you going to say something?
One other thing that mixes in, that you see the process. So the major religion in the time of Jesus in Rome is Mithraism, from Mithra, the great architect of the universe. That is a branch of the Zoroastrian religion of the Indo-Aryans, both in Persia and in the Indus Valley, where Mithra comes from. And so now you have that is also part of Gnosticism, as that comes through Mani adopting Zoroastrianism into his belief system, then as it comes downstream and inherited by Gnosticism. I track all of this in book 1 in different parts so that you can put all the pieces together.
Wow.
But it is a bringing together of all of the old religions. So they are fluent in Hinduism, and because it's the same home religion, and they'll use the same gods in references.
Got it. Go ahead. So to reference, there was a question you asked off camera earlier that I'll ask and then add some more to it. So I know something I was going to ask was, where are the Freemasons now? What's their involvement in society? And part of the reason I asked this question is last time you were in town, you actually were telling me off camera.
Sometimes you just need a moment.
So, oh my God, like there's so much history that most people don't know, especially because this history has been tampered with throughout the time. But we have people like him and apostles that do their best to stay dedicated to deeper truths and the light of truth, even regardless throughout the any forms of manipulation or changes in religions across the board around different parts of the world. And it's important for all of us to remember that regardless of things in religion, the changes that have happened over time in religion, that your connection to source can never replace anything. Or like, okay, sorry, I said that wrong. Your things in this realm, religion in this realm, can never replace your connection to source. That's what I meant to say. That's really important for all of us to constantly come back to, because throughout all these manipulations, and some of it, is completely made up. A lot of it is completely made up. But even throughout all the things made up and manipulated, there are still core truths. And one of those core truths is your connection to source is unmatched. Okay. No religion, no deity can give you that pure connection that you have with your soul connection to source.
Some of the things that Masons do in the main center part of the city and how it's integrated into societies. And I'm so curious on where they come from, their involvement in that, and why. Like, there's so much that I'm curious about. Let's start there.
Well, let's just sort of start first and I'll work back to the second question. So Freemasons are still active today. They obviously have had a decrease in recruiting people, with more people learn about things and hanging on to people, but they're still very active. There's still a lot of them. They're in charge of a specific agenda and branch organizations that branch into them. So their main focus is on the army and military, everything to do with that. That's why you see so much of Freemasonry within the Navy or the Army, and it has a long sort of history with that. And
this is why the legal forces are they're using it against humanity, because they have the people in service under extreme manipulation, because they indoctrinated this into them when they first entered the service. And so when we understand this, it makes sense when you see, oh my God, why they're supposed to be protecting the people, yet they're being used against the people. Why? Because the dark principalities have worked their way into these people's minds and have possessed them and puppet them. And so they choose this physical realm over the Most High. They choose, their payroll over the Most High. They choose the Freemasonry commands over the Most High, because they themselves are also being puppeted. And as you heard at the beginning of the video, anyone that is in service, they teach them the Freemasonry things, but they're only foot soldiers. They're only pawns. They're only casualties, essentially. They are using to enact and get away with the plan for the people at the top. But the more people that are in service, that are in Freemasonry, that are serving for the government and get paid by the government, the more of them wake up to the realization that they are on the wrong side, that their soul is being compromised and will be sacrificed to Satan if they don't wake up and redeem themselves and seek soul salvation with the Most High. Essentially, they're being led to the slaughter too. Anyone in service, in Freemasonry that think that they're safe because they're being taken care of financially, they have it all wrong. And the more of them wake up to that, the more we will see that people serving for the government will choose to protect humanity and not be used against humanity, because they realize that they don't want to be used as a pawn for satanic agendas. Because as he said clearly, it's only the pure bloodlines that really matter to them. Anyone else at the bottom doesn't really matter as much to them at all.
They're also involved in politics. Right, and so they're very much involved in supplying first level of entries into politics. So those are their main sort of focuses that they're focusing on.
And what's the trade? What's it in the Navy and the political side? What's the trade for them coming in?
Mostly information.
Got it.
The intelligence agency is also politics, kind of controls the flow of information.
Yeah, they're controlling the low level politics. It has connections to the global side of it, but you have.
So the things they put on the media, like the news, this is their way of keeping control of the soldiers, the sergeants, the generals, because they're controlling their perception. And then they make the generals and the soldiers and the sergeants under the impression that they need to do this because it's in their best interest, it's for the world, when in reality they're just under spells, they're under sorcery, they're under programming from television and entertainment to have them believe that they're doing good for humanity by listening to those orders, when in reality they're doing things against the Most High and essentially against humanity.
More they like the Illuminati with the Skull and Bones, which is the stepping stone to the CFR and all the sort of globalist organizations that extend out of that. But that's now at a higher level, with the Illuminati wanting to also destroy Christianity. But the Illuminati works within the center of Freemasonry, so there's a close association there in terms of the geopolitics. So that's why most of the Masons, or most of the presidents, have been Masons, right? Freemasons, as you take that back into history, yeah. So, and the Bohemian Grove gives the permission to who's going to become president because of the worldwide implication, and that's controlled by the Illuminati as a branch organization that goes into there. So you're going to see Freemasonry working at a lot of lower level initiatory organizations.
If you're in debt over 20,
so that's why in this day and age, it's like most organizations in the government are not trustworthy. They don't have the interest of the people, because a lot of them are submitted to these kind of secret societies, either out in the open or in secret. And so that's why the government doesn't make decisions in the best interest of humanity, because they are under spiritual manipulation. They are indoctrinated by these misguided teachings. And so it makes sense why we see, when things are worsening in the government, ultimately is because their hidden agenda plan. They're trying to outsmart the Most High through these different branches in the government. And the more people wake up to the ones that are in these different branches in the government, the better off they will be, and the better off we'll all be when the ones up there that think they're safe because they're in these organizations, they wake up to the realization that, oh my God, they're not safe either. And so it's important that we all remember the way for us to be saved in the soul salvation is what Jesus was trying to relate to us. You have to be one in God. You will be resurrected out of any darkness in this realm through the rising of your inner self with source. You have to rise up to anything and everything, throughout the times we're living in today, because nobody's going to force us. And if you choose to stay down, these dark forces will keep you down and potentially eliminate you if you don't find the willpower in yourself to rise up time and time again, no matter what, no matter the financial situation, mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, whatever situation it may be. Tap into your power, your connection from your soul connection to source energy. This is where we can find many solutions to any situation that may unfold.
Where they have their people in. It could be like the Elks Club or the Lions Club, things like that of lower levels, and they're always looking for those recruits, right, to bring them in as part of what they do. So they're quite active on that sort of aspect. Now, as the new world is being settled, and understand that this is the Templar dream from which all the modern organizations become an organization as a consequence of a central organization that was too large and powerful going down all at once. So now they have a more of a decentralized approach. So you're going to create banking organizations. You're going to, like with the Rothschilds, you're going to have Illuminati, you're going to have Freemasons, you're going to have the Rosicrucians, and just sort of split it up. So as the Templar dream was written down in their secret constitution, is they wanted to do two things. One is they wanted to create the new Babylon within the Roman Church, which the Jesuits took over, and now become on the cutting edge of New World exploration as well. Probably can't get there today with all of this, but the Templar dream is to explore the New World and to set up the new Atlantis, or the platform for world government through this island continent that they discover. And
Moral
they get there
government.
even before. So Oak Island is traveled to by the Sinclairs even before Columbus discovers North America. And Columbus sails on the Santa Maria. If my memory serves me correctly on this, the flag of the Templars, because he receives his information on how to get to North America from the Templars who were already there. And the Templars aren't just disappeared by that time. They have other organizations that will continue in Portugal and in Spain, just under a different name. So anyways, this is retaken up with the exploration, this dream to colonize North America and South America. And all to get to this great end time, where we have this universal religion and one Messiah running things. So as the migrations happen, you have not the first son of royales and
More rewards, more savings.
So basically, I'm going to stop it here. I will continue. If I feel called to share more of this video on another video, I will. But I just feel called to pause right now because I need to cleanse my energy and just do an internal reset. But all that is to say, you know, it's a battle, okay? That's what it boils down to. I'm all about unity, and that's very optimistic thinking, but the fact is that it is a battle. We are in a battle. We have many battles to overcome, and even if you are not in the government, the battle, you need to win the battle inside. So if you have evil thoughts or low vibrational thoughts and feelings, do your part and alchemize those inner thoughts and feelings, because that's the power you have at all times, so that you don't succumb to just things in the physical realm. And if you know family or yourself has been a part of Freemasonry, wake up sooner than later, because it is in your best interest. These people do not have the best interest for our souls on a humanitarian level. And so it's either people with morals or people with no morals. And the people with morals need to be the resistance against the Antichrist people who are no morals. This is indoctrinated in them. This has been passed down from generation to generation. These evil spirits are working through these people. And a lot of them are aware and a lot of them are not. So regardless if they're aware or not, it is what it is. The dark principalities are using these humans against humanity to put most of humanity at a disadvantage, use them as pawns and use them as casualties. Don't let that be you. And in order for that to not be you, you have to win the inner war within yourself on a day-to-day basis. And remember that our prayers do have power to alter things in the government and in world events. This is what they know in secret societies. They do sorcery and they do energy manipulation, and they know that prayers have power, so they lead people away from religion. They lead people away from this truth, because this is a weapon to protect yourself. They don't want people to have any sort of defense. So that's why they have people believing, well, you don't really need to be religious. You can just be a free spirit, and you believe in God because God is everything. You are God, we are God, everything is God, right? But then where in the world is your spiritual protection? If you don't know how to use your biblical words, your words of prayer, your words of defense against these dark principalities, you have no spiritual protection. If you're just a person who is saying, oh, I'm a hippie, free spirit, I don't believe in religion, I just believe God is everyone and everything. Okay, great, that is true, it's fantastical. But what is also just as true, if not more true, these biblical words have power to cancel out the dark principalities of this realm. And they know that this is a fact, and that's why they don't want people using this truth against their sorcery and their witchcraft and their black magic, whatever. That's what they do to control political things, to control world events, to control organizations, people in organizations, to control the military, to control people. They do witchcraft and sorcery over us all. Whether people like to realize that or not, or have a hard time realizing that this is what's happening, it doesn't matter. It's still happening. So the more of us wake up to the realization that, yeah, our words of prayer have the power to cancel out their hidden agendas that they do in witchcraft and sorcery. This is the resistance. All of us waking up to our Christ consciousness and realizing our words of prayer have the power to cancel out their hidden agendas, to cancel out to derail their dark plans for humanity, to rebuke them and the spirits that are using them. Use your power of prayer now more than ever in the times we're living in today. We can rebuke these evil spirits in political places, in governmental positions. We can rebuke them. We are not against the people. We are against the principalities, the dark principalities of this realm. But we are, in essence, also against the people who are out of alignment of morality. People who are out of alignment of morality and integrity are being possessed by lower disembodied spirits, evil spirits, dark, parasitic entity energies. Okay, there's a history to this. And so please, it's important for all of us to remind each other the power we have as a child of God, the power we have in our words of prayer, and we need people activating their power from within, rising up their Christ consciousness, activating your whole Merkaba, your energy field, and pray from your heart, pray from your soul connection to source, pray from your mind, body, and soul, pray from your activated energy system to call on the heavenly realms, call on the higher realms, call for justice, call for judgment to be had on the dark principalities of this realm that are using other humans that are at the top of the pyramid, that want to feed and use and abuse the majority of humanity. And when we realize the 1%ers, they can't possibly have as much power as we have with all the numbers of activated energy fields, praying to the Most High, calling on the heavenly realms, calling on the angelic realms, we will overpower their sorcery and their witchcraft over and over and over again. The more of us activate our words of prayer, activate our energy system to have more power in our words of prayer. This is a huge deal, and we need more people talking on this truth, how the way we overcome the Freemasonry, Rosicrucian, secret societies in governmental places and in politics is literally through our knowing of source, our knowing of our soul authority in source, to cancel out their plans, to rebuke the evil spirits' plans. And so it will derail them, and it will prevent them from going full steam ahead with this dark hidden agenda to try to outsmart God. It's not going to happen. The more of us really become more intentional with the power we have to stop them from using witchcraft over political things and world events, to cancel out their witchcraft, to cancel out their sorcery with no fight of war whatsoever, because our fight is not against the humans that are possessed and working with satanic energies, intentionally working with Satan in this realm. It's not a secret. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's reality. And so with us knowing, this is not just a made up truth. This is really what's unfolding in the world right now. We have these secret societies working with Satan, and they have no mercy on humanity. As we can see, look at what's happening in war zones. They don't care to use soldiers, sergeants, and generals as also casualties, as also pawns. No one that is serving in the service now is safe either. And the more of us the more of them in the government wake up to the fact that they're not safe with the secret societies, the sooner we will overthrow the secret societies and rebuild a moral government. Right now, it's the immoral against the moral. And as we know, we are guaranteed to win. So the more of us push forward and put the resistance that needs to be had against the Antichrist, against the people out of alignment of integrity, against the people out of alignment of morals, the sooner we will see change for the better. The more people in governmental places wake up, and all of us not in governmental places also wake up, because we're also just as important, and all of us also have a very important part to play, because remember, we have the numbers and they're the 1%ers. They might have all the money, and they might think that they're in control because they're puppeting a lot of people in their organizations, in Freemasonry and Rosicrucian secret societies. They're puppeting many people, so they believe that they have the control because of how many people they are puppeting. But the more of those people that they're puppeting wake up to the realization that we are the majority, we are the ones with more spiritual power to cancel out their sorcery, to cancel out their witchcraft, the sooner we will see improvements in governmental places all around the world. The sooner we will have people with morals upholding those positions. The people that have no morals or out of alignment of integrity and are choosing Satan, they need to be eliminated out of these governmental positions, and they need to be given to people who are upholding morality, to people who are upholding the Most High and living for the Most High and living out of the agenda, the dark hidden agenda for this world will be canceled out by people who are living to live out of a higher order, to live out of the order of the Most High, not the order of satanic hidden agendas. That dark hidden agenda, New World Order, will be canceled out by all light workers, God-seeing beings all around the world, praying against these curses and these rituals that they do over their own members, and they do over political things and world events and humanity at large. As he said in the video, most of humanity they keep in poverty because the people in poverty they use as pawns and casualties. But the more people in poverty wake up to their power, that we can cancel out curses and spells and rituals, the more we will start to see better things unfolding in the world, because we are the majority. Never forget that we have more power in the spiritual realm than they do, no matter how long that they have been in charge, no matter what ritualistic things, no matter how many members they have manipulated into their organizations, no matter how many members they have as puppets. It doesn't matter. We have the majority, and on top of that, most importantly, we have the power of the Most High, that they don't have that power. They don't have that seniority that God has. Our Godhead source energy has seniority over anything in this realm, of this realm, always, at all times. And the more of us remember that, if the ones at the bottom in experiencing poverty or any sort of difficult situation, when you turn to God and you ask for guidance, you ask for protection, and you ask for consultation, God will counsel you. God will uplift you from inside. God will help cancel out any curses and spells put over you, and rebuke those spirits that are trying to abuse you in your life and cause a version of poverty that is not meant for you. We are pure light and love at our core. We are fully abundant. This universe is completely abundant. Scarcity and poverty is man-made by the people at top, by the 1%ers. You heard what he said in the video. This is literally throughout the generations done on purpose to humanity, to keep humanity at a disadvantage so that they can stay in charge. But we are in the golden age, and the majority is waking up to the truth of our true power in all of this. No matter if they make it out to be on the news that things are getting worse and things are getting more chaotic, no, cancel that worry and fear out with prayer, because God's source energy works in mysterious ways, and our prayers have supernatural abilities to shift the atmosphere in this world, to shift outcomes and world events for the better, to eliminate and rebuke evil spirits in any place, in governmental places or any place around the world. That's the power we have as children of God, God-seeing beings, God's seeds. This is the power we have as co-creators of our Creator. So please never forget that. And if you forgot, this is your reminder to please remind everyone else, pass this word along. And if you want to come along on this journey with me, do yourself a favor and subscribe if you haven't already. Click like, because it does help the algorithm push this video out to many other people who need this message. And I pray that this message reaches the people that it needs the most, that reaches the souls that it needs the most, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And so it is. And so it is done. I just have all the faith in the world of the Most High, no matter what unfolds in the current times we're living in today. And not just faith, but a knowing. I have a knowing. So please tune into that knowing within your heart, mind, body, and soul. And tune into God's frequency frequently, because that's really important to reinvigorate yourself from inside on a daily basis. Also, ring the bell for upcoming videos if you haven't already, because you are going to want to stay tuned in. I recently have shared things from social media or YouTube, and also have added in my own channelings and my own outlook and my own input from my heart. But I also channel straight from the source on this channel, guidance straight from the source. And so my other videos, I will be channeling things that God has told me directly. And so please have a listening heart. God is trying to also guide you, protect you, and counsel you, but you need to listen, have a listening heart. God wants to fill you up. God wants to do amazing things. God wants to raise you up into the image of God, so that you can overcome anything and everything that we need to overcome to get stronger and more resilient and more brighter, especially during the times we're living in today. So please don't give your power away to situations and this realm, and remember that you have the power to alchemize anything and everything from the inside out. So I'll leave this here. Remember to pray for your goals, your possessions, your pets, your family, your friends, and humanity at large, because as we know, science proves the power of our words emit a signal and a frequency out into the quantum field, and you can shift atmospheres and you can shift world events for the better. That's the power we have, and we need more people waking up and rising up to their true power, because no one is more special than another. All of us are in this together, and we are meant to help activate each other to higher capacities and higher supernatural powers, to be able to win over the dark principalities of this realm, because we are stronger than them, and we have all the numbers. So don't forget that. Don't fall into helplessness. Don't fall into hopelessness. And if you see your family or friends falling into that, snap them out of it. Send them this video. Relate these messages to them, because the more of us we have empowered, the better off we'll be. Because the people at the top want people disempowered, in fear, in worry. We need to not fall for their tricks, and remember that we have the power to alchemize anything and everything. If you see a family or a friend falling into that low vibrational trickster spirit, remind them who they are and the power they have to overcome any worry, any fear, any circumstance, by alchemizing anything and everything from inside. Go into yourself time and time again and seek God within your heart. God will talk to you in all the deepest ways that nothing in this realm can ever give you, the way that the communication with source energy directly into you in your mind, body, and soul. So please cherish that and invest into that part of yourself, because this is the greatest investment that you could ever give to yourself in the times we're living in today, because as we know, it all starts from within. So invest in yourself within and your connection to source, and source will guide you and counsel you to solutions and to all sorts of healing that needs to be had within you. Please tap in deeper and deeper, no matter what. So I'll leave this one here, like I said. God bless you all, and I will talk to you in my next video.